Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is a new game made for the Nintendo Switch. The main reason anyone got the console in the first place was the first Zelda game, Breath of the Wild. The first game was amazing. It broke new grounds and it spawned millions of copycats like Genshin Impact. But we're here to talk about the biggest clone of them all, Breath of the Wild 2. And for most parts they really did make a sequel like no other. They removed the powers that you had in the first game, such as bombs, magnets, stop time, and so on, and instead made new powers that are, in my opinion, way better. I mean, just the fuse and build system is on a whole nother level. If someone just made a game with those two functions, it would have been a great indie game. But as I played more and more, I realized something was missing. I'm going to compare the first and second game a lot during this video, so to make it clear, I will put this little icon on each clip showing what is Breath of the Wild and what is Tears of the Kingdom. The beginning area, the tutorial place, both games have these, but there are a huge difference between the games. The first game, you just kind of wake up in a cave, walk out, and there is no real reason, quest, or thing to lead you anywhere. The game dev just says, here's the world, go out and enjoy it. It was just fun walking around and doing whatever you wanted. No one to hold your hand, and you just clear the first area in your own way. Going over to the new game, Tears of the Kingdom, the start of the game is already different. It starts as an intro scene, where the only reason it's there is to set up the story. At this point I didn't really care, since I was so excited about the game itself. So this is basically what happens. You walk under the castle, see some paintings of the old race of goat daddies, then meet the main enemy of the game, Ganon, and boom, he beats you so easy, you lose all your extra heart and stamina from the first game, as well as the Master Sword and one of your arms. Princess Zelda disappears. Cut to you waking up in a similar fashion to the first game. You're in a cave, you walk out, you see the new area. This time it's up in the sky. The setup of the tutorial is the same as in the first game. Find shrines, get power, get the thing needed to leave the starting area. In Breath of the Wild it was a glider you needed. You were on this massive platform which you could not climb down from and needed the glider to get down safely. You met this old dude who said he will give you the glider if you give him some treasure. And that's your whole reason for going into shrines, which gave you powers when you entered, and then a treasure once you finished. It was a natural flow of gameplay. You needed the glider to get down from the platform and start exploring the real world. Makes sense. At this point you didn't know shit about the world or what was going on, you just needed to leave the massive platform to start your adventure. Tears of the Kingdom does not treat it in the same way. This time there's a big ass door you need to get into, but you can't unless you power up your new arm. So the ghost goat daddy tells you that you need to get to shrines and get powers so you can open the door. I went to the first 2 shrines and got the power, which were awesome. But it was also after finishing the 3rd shrine where I started to get this feeling of something was off. You were following a straight line basically at this point. The map was made so you can only go one way. You must take the shrines in the order the game dev wants, instead of just picking whichever you want like Breath of the Wild. And here is where a small crack started growing in my mind. The game is making you go a specific way and forcing you to use all the powers you've gotten in a specific way. The idea of the free open world started to break a bit, but I shrugged it off and kept playing. Once I had enough power to open the massive door, I thought I could finally start exploring the world. But the game did a 180. There's another big ass door that you need to open, but this one is different. You don't need another power, you need an extra heart to open it. For you who don't know, in both games, when you finish a shrine, you get an orb. Once you get 4 of these, you can offer them to a goddess statue and get an extra heart or longer stamina bar. In Breath of the Wild, it was up to you if you wanted your first offering to be a heart or not. But here, the game devs have already decided that it must be a heart to open the door. Also, at this point, you have only been to 3 shrines, so you wonder where the 4th is. Maybe it's an optional shrine you could find if you explored a bit. After all, this game is an open world, right? The fourth shrine can only be accessed once you have entered the first massive door. You see the problem I have with this first and second game now? How open the first game was with your choices, and how this game forces you to do everything in an order. Now I know what you are thinking. Aren't you overreacting to this tutorial? Which the answer is yes. I mean, this is a video game, it's not like it's gonna affect people's lives. But the problem will appear the moment you start your second playthrough. In Breath of the Wild, you could do the starting area in different ways. Tackle the shrines in different orders. Like the first time I played Breath of the Wild, I missed the old man's cabin, and I found it in my second playthrough. So when I found the cabin, I talked to the man, and he told me a bit about cutting wood, cooking cold-resistant food, and there were even a fun little hidden quest. If you read his diary, he will talk about a special type of food he cooked, but he forgot the ingredients. If you figure out what it was, cook it, and then give it to the old man, he will hand you clothes that will make your life a lot easier in the cold temperatures. The game taught you, if you walked around and explored before doing the main quest, you will get shit that helped you get through the game. Such a fun way to design a world, right? It's up to you, the player, to make all the decisions, and it rewards you just running around and finding stuff. So, back to Tears of the Kingdom. Next time you play the tutorial, or starting area, you will know where things are and can play differently, right? No, not really. You still must follow the same way you did in the first time you played it, since most of the shrines are locked behind paths you must use your powers to get through. So your second playthrough of the tutorial in Tears of the Kingdom will look really similar to the first one. Now there's always ways to get around using powers in these kind of games, but to do so, you must have knowledge of how things work and where things are, meaning you can't stumble upon it. The real game hasn't even started yet, and you can already see the differences like night and day. But let's look past the tutorial and go into the real open world game. Back to Breath of the Wild. You finish the starting area, you get the glider. Right after you get some information about the world and Ganon, you get the first main quest, which is simply defeat Ganon. Meaning, from finishing the tutorial, you can run to the castle and fight Ganon. This is hard to do without the right weapons and armor, and it still is an option for you, the player, to decide. This world is all up to the player. It's all about you. All the other main quests are optional. You don't need to go and fight the 4 temples or get back your memories or even find the Master Sword. And finding the Master Sword isn't even a main quest. It's something that you can stumble upon on your own. How cool is that? The game isn't telling you where to go or that you need the Master Sword no matter what. If you want to beat Ganon with just sticks, you can. The Master Sword is just kind of a cool thing that you can find on your own that has no real weight on the player experience or the world. Breath of the Wild is the only game I know of this scale that lets the player 100% decide what they want to do. And that's what I love about it. Such a great concept to a game. Now, on to Tears of the Kingdom. You finish the tutorial.
Link! You must find me.
And now the open world is yours to do what you want. Explore, do quests, find shrines, fight strong enemies. But something here is missing. The main quest you got so far is just find Zelda. Which makes sense. She's gone and you need to find her. You are her personal guard after all. But you have no idea where she is or what have happened since you passed out. But it's fine, because right now you're supposed to go to Lookout Landing, the main base in front of the castle. And that makes sense. The castle was the endpoint of the first game, so it must be the endpoint in this one too. You talk to so many people when entering the Lookout, which already removes the fun part of finding these random people and important people in the world on your own. But let's say we don't really care about that. We just want to finish the main quest. We find the most important person in this Lookout, Pura. She tells you that you need to head up to the castle and talk to the person in charge there. Makes sense, I guess. Here is where we have to find Zelda. She's probably in the castle. I mean, where else should she be? You go to the checkpoint and you talk to the person in charge for a little bit. And then, all of a sudden, you see Zelda. Yeah, I'm not kidding. You're supposed to find Zelda. That's your main goal. Not fight Ganon, but find Zelda. And there she is. Just standing there in a cutscene, but then goes up in dust. Poof, gone. I wanted to find some clues for myself, or figure out where she went or why she disappeared. So maybe I need to, head up to the floating castle and find her, right? No. Go back to Pura and tell her what you saw. After some dialogue with Pura, she tells you to go to 4 different spots on the map. She tells you that you need to explore in this game. That is all about exploring. I don't need someone to tell me to go and look around at this awesome open world. I was gonna do that anyway. Already, this game is so keen on keeping me to a red line that it's insane. Like Pura tells you to go to the main cities you were in the first game, and like, yes, I am going to do that anyway, you don't need to fucking tell me. It's no longer the unique open world game where you have to decide what you want to do. Nothing is more important than the player itself. You have to decide what kind of main quest you wanted to do, if you wanted to go somewhere or decide to explore something. But now, it's almost like you are forced to follow the set path. From this point on, I'm going to spoil the entire game. If you haven't played the game, I recommend you do that, because even if it sounds like I'm ranting a lot about this game being not as good, it's still a really good game. So, let's keep going. Now, before I go any further, I want to say that it's technically possible to fight the last boss and end the game at any point. To do this, you need to go under the castle, go through a lot of caves, mine a lot of rocks, defeat a lot of enemies, fall down until you get to the last room where Ganon is. But you, as the player, have no idea about this. You only know this after you have finished the game for your first time. Or, in the worst case scenario, randomly found it while exploring. This is even worse if this is the case. If you randomly explore the underground under the castle without knowing it was the final boss, suddenly you must fight first his big ass army, then the temple guardians, his shadows. After all that, then you can finally fight Ganon. Depending on how much of the main quest you have done so far, a lot of this will make no fucking sense. I will now give you just the core concept of what's happening when you meet him for the first time, without any knowledge of the other main quest. You fight him. It's a hard fight, but you can defeat him. Once you have done it, there will be a cutscene where he rips this random rock from his face and eats it. Once you have done that, he will become a dragon. You're getting pulled up with him into the sky, and it seems that you're gonna fall to your death, but another dragon saves you. This dragon, for some reason, has the Master Sword on its head, like it's shoved in its head. Pull it up, and you fight Dragon Ganon with the Master Sword. Once you defeat Ganon, the dragon who helped you turns out to be Princess Zelda. Like, what? What happened here? Nothing makes sense. Why was Zelda a dragon? Why did she have the Master Sword in her head? What does the main title even mean? Tears of the Kingdom? Is that the tears I will be shredding when I'm trying to put together this fucking plot without knowing what the fuck is going on? Do you understand the problem of this game? It is forcing you to do all the main quest to understand what is going on. And if you are doing the main quest, it will be explained to you that you need the Master Sword to defeat Ganon. He's too strong to fight with normal weapons, and Zelda has gone back in time. She decided the only way to save the world is to turn into a holy dragon, that the Master Sword is going to absorb its power for thousands of years into the future, where, you know, Link is, so he can get the sword powerful enough to defeat Ganon. But hold on. Didn't I just explain that you can defeat him without the Master Sword? The only time I needed the Master Sword was to fight him in his dragon form. But that was never the thing Zelda nor anyone else had predicted, that he would become a dragon, right? That I needed to have the Master Sword to fight him was because he was too strong the first time we met him in his human form, right? That means that the Master Sword wasn't necessary. But it also means that if you didn't get it before you actually fought Ganon, the game forces you to take it. You have no choice in it. It removes every aspect of freedom. And it's like, if we take the first game, Breath of the Wild, you decide to fight Ganon, but you haven't found the Master Sword yet. But in the middle of this fight, Ganon changes form to his final form, and as he does it, the Master Sword is randomly summoned in your hand. Like, let's say it's a little cutscene where a light is shined from the sky, and hits your hand, and the Master Sword is now in your hand. There's no explanation why or how this happened. That isn't any freedom at all. That's forced storytelling. The game devs is removing your free will of how you want to deal with it. And I say it just makes the game worse. As I stated in the beginning of this video, I think this game is awesome. The new powers, the sky maps, the design of most of the stuff is really cool, and I love most of it. This was the first Zelda game on the Switch. I wouldn't have anything to complain about. But since it came out after such a masterful open world as Breath of the Wild, it really lacks what makes it unique. Breath of the Wild is still the best open world game ever made. And ironically, the titles of the game reflects on this. Breath of the Wild, a fresh breath of a world full of wildness and nothing's really set in stone where anything can happen. And Tears of the Kingdom, a tear for the kingdom this game could have been. Thank you for watching this video. It was really fun to make. I have no idea if this video is even gonna go up to 100 views, but it was really fun to make. And if you did like it, do subscribe and give a like, because I have a feeling I'm gonna make more videos in the future. I really enjoyed making this one. I didn't record the gameplay to this video, so all the gameplay you've seen I've taken from 2 other channels, which I will put in the descriptions and on the screen right now. Thank you for uploading no commentary gameplay. It's easy to use, and without it I couldn't have made this video, because I have no idea how you record on Switch. Either way, thanks for watching, and maybe I'll see you in the future. Bye!